Thank you, Alice, and thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you for allowing us to talk a little bit about data, analytics, and digital, and how it all integrates and it can be used to help market and message anything you'd like. We're here to tell a story about that starts at Barack Obama and his election in 2008 and his re-election in 2012, and how the same strategies and tactics we used in that period during those campaigns can be used for other industries. In particular, we think that there is application from politics in America to the luxury industry worldwide. We believe some of these same strategies and techniques can be very, very helpful to the luxury industry and to other industries. So with that, we'll start the presentation. We're going to do hopefully about 20 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions for all of you guys to ask us anything you'd like. By the way, if you want to ask anything while we're talking, please do. Andrew and myself will be happy to talk about any of this stuff. Okay, so first, you've heard a lot about big data. We want to talk a little bit about how this influenced Barack Obama's election in 2008 and 2012. Barack Obama, in 2007, decided to run for President of the United States. He was a little-known U.S. senator, challenging in the primaries Hillary Clinton. It was going to be a very long, tough road to be able to win that election. The odds were against us. I'd say 9 out of 10 times Hillary Clinton becomes the nominee and likely the president. But Barack Obama decided to do things differently. He decided to revolutionize the way political campaigns market and communicate in the states. And in doing things differently, he was able to find voters, people that were interested in him and his cause, where nobody thought they existed before. Because if the Obama campaign in 2008 and again in 2012 had relied on the same coalition of individuals to show up and vote in 2008 and 2012 that showed up in 2000 and 2004, he would have lost. So we looked at the electorate, realized that we had to get people to come to the polls that typically had never voted before in America. So we set about using data, analytics, to figure out how to identify those individuals. So while we did that in the political process and in the political campaigns of Barack Obama, these same strategies and techniques are also applicable to these other industries I spoke of earlier. Imagine, if you will, having a clear, concise list of individuals that are interested in your product. And I'm not talking about a broad group of people, say white males aged 18 to 49 years old in, say, the New York media market. I'm talking about having an individual, a targeted list down to the individual. And imagine if you knew what messages resonated greatest with those individuals. Then imagine if you could market to those individuals on specific platforms that they most respond to. Well, these are the things that Barack Obama did. It created literally a list of individuals that we wanted to communicate with and that we wanted to motivate to vote for us. Using big data and analytics, we did do that. Like in business, political campaigns are limited by its resources and its time. Even as much money as Barack Obama raised in American politics, which was a record amount, it still is a limited amount. It's still finite. And so you have to spend that money efficiently and effectively to be able to reach the right people. So as any business, as any startup knows, you want to talk to the people most interested in your product, most interested to take an action on your behalf. What's really, really important is once you build that list of individuals through data and analytics that Andrew later will talk about the science behind it and how we actually did it, once you build that list of individuals, that's just one part of the process, one piece of the equation. The other piece is activation. You have to not only build the list of individuals that are most likely to be interested in your product, or in Barack Obama's case, most interested in voting for you, you have to then figure out what set of messages, tactics, and techniques you can use to build a community of people. And to build that community of people takes a lot of work. But once you build it, then you want to activate them on your behalf. In Barack Obama's case, the activation was, of course, ultimately voting on election day. We wanted to nurture a relationship one-on-one with individuals, ask them to take action on behalf of Barack Obama once they felt sufficiently part of our community, and ask them to either give money to Barack Obama, go talk to their neighbors about Barack Obama, attend an event, a myriad of things that we wanted them to do. But ultimately, we wanted them to take that last transaction, which again was to vote. But once you activate these individuals, what we found once they took one action was they were 20 times more likely to take a subsequent action. So in other words, once you build that relationship with somebody and somebody connects with what you're saying, what you're doing, and wants to be a part of your community, you can then leverage that further down the line to have them, in luxury good industry case, buy their product or buy your product. But building out that community is what's really, really critical. One of the competitive advantages we had was, of course, data and analytics, and it was the fact that we had a grassroots base, a community of individuals that did want to take those actions on our behalf. And it was critical that what we did was find these voters in places where, again, nobody thought they existed, because we had to expand the electorate, build a coalition of individuals that would come out and vote for him. And it's just as you guys look through the marketplace and try to figure out where are these people that you want to talk to? Where are the people that you don't, that you can talk to and not waste money? So using that information can help you get there. So in harnessing this data, the Obama campaign obviously, and some of you know this story, and we'll get into some of the story where it may not be so well known, but some of you know this story, but in harnessing this information, we were able to garner 135 million total votes. We were able to raise $1 billion. We raised 700 million of that online, people taking action online, donating money to the cause. Again, creating that community that interested people to take action. We had 4 million individual donors in America. We had 2 million volunteers who went out and did things on behalf of Barack Obama. Sometimes at night in their computer, they were donating money, they were reading articles about Barack Obama, they were reading about his positions and his policies, and sometimes during the day, they would go, in American politics, go knock on doors and tell people why they're supporting Barack Obama. Sometimes they would make phone calls on behalf of Barack Obama. All of these things helped us get to the election with a sizable lead and then ultimately to prevail. So we knocked on 146 million doors in the campaign. We had 41 million Facebook likes, 44 million Twitter followers, and 20 million email addresses. What's funny about this is that when Barack Obama started running for president in 2007, and again, he was virtually unknown, he started out with 15,000 email addresses. And today, we are at 20 million plus, because he used, again, data and analytics to build the list of individuals that are most likely to be interested in what he's talking about, and then we built that community. We built that support that allowed people to feel a part of something bigger than themselves. And then when it came time to activate them, it was easier, because they understood that they were in it as something that was larger than themselves, and then they had an interest in it. They were a stakeholder in the campaign. So, what does Obama have to do with the luxury industry? Yeah, I know. I'm thinking the same thing. He has a lot to do with the luxury industry because, in essence, again, these techniques and tactics can be very, very useful to you guys. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Andrew Claster, who can take you through the process about how we gather this data, how we utilize this data, and how potentially there's applications for you all. Andrew.
Thank you very much. Well, so to give you a sense for how we track elite interactions, that's one way in which I think there's a relationship between what we do on a campaign and the luxury goods industry. You know, we did reach out to 146 million times to voters, so we did a lot of mass communication. We did reach out to tens of millions of supporters via email, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera. But we also have elite audiences to whom we need to reach out. And that includes political elites, so people who have endorsed us, people who are members of the Democratic Party who may or may not be supporters, media elites who we need to stay in touch with, bloggers, television anchors, reporters, et cetera, celebrity supporters, folks who raise money for us, folks who do events for us. And here you see the president with Bruce Springsteen and Jay-Z, two celebrity supporters who reach out to large and distinct constituencies in the US and can be very effective for us, both for raising money online and offline, in that they can headline events for us, they can send emails for us, as well as their ability to mobilize people on the ground. So we can bring Jay-Z to an event in Ohio, for example, bring tens of thousands of people to see him, and then direct those people. We can plan that event to be next to a voting location so that those people can be registered to vote and then brought directly after the event to a voting location to cast their ballot. Fundraisers and donors, again, online and offline. Large donations and small donations. So people will pay to sit at a table with Barack Obama or Bruce Springsteen or Jay-Z or George Clooney. And people will also contribute $3 or $5 online to enter a contest to be seated at a dinner with George Clooney, Sarah Jessica Parker, etc. So one of the things we want to do is to monitor our interaction with elites. So just as with luxury customers, you want to know, how are they interacting with your brand? Every time they walk into a store, every time they get online, what are they saying about you on Facebook? What are they saying about you on Twitter? Have they liked you? Have they, and what are they communicating about you to their friends and to their connections online and offline? We want to do the same thing for our elites. We want to track every interaction with them that we're having at events, through email, through social media, et cetera. So that when we communicate with an elite, if someone's calling them up and asking them to do an interview or to give a quote about Barack Obama, we want to know every interaction that our campaign has had with that individual, every major fundraiser that they've attended, every email that they've sent on our behalf, et cetera. So we want to track their attendance and participation in events. We want to track all their media appearances. We want to make sure that we have all this information when we're ticketing so that we decide, when they're coming to events, their participation in fundraisers and donations, and all of their online interactions. And this is true again for luxury customers. If you want to invite them to a launch event, to a fashion show, if you want to invite them to a special customized sales opportunity, this is all information that you want to have about each of your customers. So how do we do this? Well, one of the things we do is we build a database of all of our customers. In our case, it's voters. In the case of luxury goods, you would start with a consumer file. And so you would track each of the individuals you interact with and tie them to all of the consumer data that is available. So in the US, for example, you can purchase a list of every consumer in the country from a variety of commercial vendors. And it includes information like people's names and addresses, their predicted income based on a model, their past purchase history, et cetera. Appended to that, we have lifestyle data. So information from loyalty programs, for instance, what type of car they own, magazine subscriptions, et cetera. And these are all lists that can be purchased in the US and matched to each other.
It's frightening to everybody in this room.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and particularly in France and in Europe in general, in every country where we operate, there are different privacy restrictions with which we deal. In fact, just this week, just Monday, I was meeting with some folks who are using these techniques for politics here in France. So this was used by the Hollande campaign, and the restrictions that exist here in France are very different than the world in which we operate in the US. However, the same principles apply. Instead of doing individual level targeting, one might do targeting at the level of postcode, for example, or some broader geography, or some kind of demographic targeting. But there's more that's permissible in some cases online. So with Facebook ads, Google ads, et cetera. So there are a lot of opportunities there. Here, again, we worked with Facebook, we worked with LinkedIn to using third-party anonymous matching services where we ship our data, they ship their data, those folks do the match, and so we're not getting each other's data, but we can build an individual level model and say, okay, here are the individuals we want to target. Here's the message we want to deliver to those people. Here's the creative we want to deliver to those people. Now, you go out and you execute, you deliver that contact, that intended contact, that online video, whatever it may be, that, to the individuals from our list who match the individuals on your list. And then finally, we append to that all of the proprietary customer data. So in our case, that is the data from knocking on people's doors and asking them who you're going to vote for, or calling them up on the phone, or if they give us a donation online, or if they sign up to join the party. In the case of the consumer industry, what you're looking at is people's purchase history. Who has purchased what, where, when, and how, through what channels. What events have they attended? What are all the interactions that your company has had with those individuals in stores, online, at events, etc.? And what actions have they taken online? Who have they invited? Who have they shared with? Who has liked their posts about your brand? So in order to build these predictive models, which again, we do at the individual level, we can also do them at broader geographies. And where there are restrictions on how we can do that, what we'll often do is we might build a model at the individual level, but then we roll it up to some broader geography or demography for the purpose of targeting in order to protect people's personal information. So the first step for us is research. So we go out to a representative sample and we conduct some kind of intervention. It could be a survey, which candidate do you support, or how likely are you to purchase this product. In the best case, though, we can test an intervention. So we'll develop an online ad, for example, or an online video, or we might develop 2 or 3 online ads or videos or emails. And we'll ship these out, and we'll do not just A/B testing, where you're trying to figure out which is better, which gets a better response, but what I call ABC testing, where C is the control group. So that what you can measure is not just which ad is better or which email is better, A or B, but how much lift does that give us compared to the folks who are not receiving that intervention, so that you can actually calculate return on investment. So what we do is we do a test first. So we might deliver this ad or email to 10,000 people or 40,000 people out of the entire universe, out of the entire marketplace, and see who responds to it. Then we match that back to whatever information we have about those individuals, demographic, commercial, etc. And then we use that to identify, based on the information we know about people, which are the variables, which are the characteristics that are the best contributors to predicting who is going to increase their likelihood of taking the desired action, whether it's purchase, like, RSVP for an event, who is most likely to increase their probability of taking that desired action in response to this communication for us. And then we apply that model to everyone else in the universe. And then once that's done, we execute. We say, okay, we've modeled who is most likely to respond. Now we're going to go out and deliver that creative, or whatever it might be, to all of those individuals. So this is an example from the US of some of the variables that might go into that kind of model. And it can be any information you have. It can be modeled income, it can be age, gender, ethnicity, geography, where people live, etc. So the elements of success for a data and analytics strategy. Number one, most important, is to define goals. Too often I talk to folks who have a lot of data and they say, well, we have all this data and we want to get something out of it. And so they start mining the data, but what they haven't done is they haven't aligned that to their overarching goals. I always encourage people to, as a first step, decide what as an organization are you trying to do? Are you trying to maximize profit? Are you trying to maximize revenue? Are you trying to increase the number of customers you have? Are you trying to increase revenue per customer? Are you trying to cut costs? We have to start by defining those goals. Then we develop metrics for those goals. So how do we measure that? The third thing we try to do is to match all the data across all your platforms. So you have data that's coming in from your online channels, you have data that's coming in from stores and other offline channels. If you can marry that, if you can match those together, you can use one to improve your predictions of the other. Tracking every interaction. So a lot of times this data process turns up opportunities to improve your data collection. Testing and measuring results, I already talked about that, and how to determine ROI, return on investment. Allocating resources. So this can help make decisions such as, where should we locate our next store? Where should we have this next event? If we're trying to attract these people to our brand, what is the best way to do that? Should we be investing more in Facebook ads or Google ads or outdoor advertising or television advertising? So we can help allocate resources across channels and within channels at targeted demographic groups. Building predictive models, executing at scale, communication throughout the organization. So this can help build support for data and analytics and create insight throughout the organization. One of the things we did on the campaign was we viewed our group, the data and analytics team within the Obama campaign, as an internal consulting group. Our job was not to tell people how to do their jobs. Our job was to collect data, collect information, and share with the other departments who were making decisions. So share with the team that was making advertising decisions, to share with the team that was in charge of fundraising and finance, to share with the team that was sending out emails, information about what works, what doesn't work, and who are some of the folks that we should be going after, what are the channels that they should be going after. And so, this is a great opportunity to build that kind of culture within the organization. And so we went out and found champions within each department and built that up over time. And it was a process. It was a process that took years. We didn't just walk in one day and say, we're going to use this data and analytics approach, and everybody was completely on board with it. It was a process. Some folks came on immediately. Some folks only came on towards the end of the campaign. But the best way to get that buy-in is by showing results. So if you start with a data set that looks reasonable, you start with a department where you've identified one or more champions of this approach, and you begin with a project that shows results, and you can demonstrate those results to that individual, let them take credit, let them present that to the rest of the organization, then you have a great opportunity both to grow within that department and also to use that as something to sell to other departments within your organization.
And the idea is to make data a central part of your strategy, that it's not something that lives in the corner. It's not something where the tech nerds are relegated to the basement. It's actually front and center in your strategy about how you market, how you communicate, and how you use it to make sure that you move the product you want to move, or in a political campaign's case, attract the voters you need to attract.
And this will allow you to measure your brand image across platform and across different audiences and determine what affects that over time. Some of the key steps in this process for us, number one, testing content, building predictive models based on those tests, integrating external data, so bringing in data from outside sources, public data that's available, for example, merging your internal proprietary databases, so matching the information you have from different channels, offline and online in particular, being able to look up individual customers. Imagine if any time a customer walked into a store or interacted with you online or made a comment about you that the PR department was concerned about or was happy about, you could type in some information about that individual, their name and their city, for example, and up would come all the information about every interaction that individual has had with your organization, as well as any public information that's available about that individual. We provide that for campaigns. So that's available for any time someone interacts with us, whether it's a celebrity or a donor or some individual talks to a reporter. We can look that individual up and see every interaction we've had with them, as well as all the public data that's available about that person. And that is something that we're helping many companies and organizations do as well. Customer management, so CRM, figuring out, and that's another opportunity to do tests. What is the best way to respond to each customer. If a customer has a question, if a customer has a complaint, who are the customers who are most likely to respond well to a telephone call or an email or some other kind of interaction from you designed to increase their satisfaction? And product simulators. One of the things we build is for a particular product. Let's say a brand has a range of products and they're trying to figure out what's the ideal price, what are the ideal markets, what are the best messages. We can do testing so that we can allow people to play with a spreadsheet that allows them to indicate, okay, if I use this message and this pricing and this special offer in this market, here's what I'm going to see as far as unit sales, revenue, profit, etc. If I make this adjustment, if I change the price by this much, here's what I'll see. And that's very similar to what we do on campaigns, where we alter a message slightly, or we alter the channel in which we deliver that message, and we see what the result is. And we're doing that for companies as well. And what this gives you ultimately is a 360-degree view of your customers.
Which is really, what you need in today's world is really a great understanding of who's coming to your store, why are they coming to that store, why are they buying the product they're buying, and how can you further relate to them, and how can you further nurture that relationship, going back to what we did on the Obama campaign, which is, again, build a community of people with shared interests, building a dialogue with those people, and then, again, asking them to take an action on the brand's behalf. The idea here was to give you a sense of what we did on the campaign, the pioneering techniques and tactics we used, the innovations we came up with. While it applied directly to Barack Obama in his run for the presidency in 2008 and 2012, we feel and we know that this is applicable to other industries. Just quickly, one of our recent projects was for a professional sports team in America who had suffered declining attendance for about 6 years. People were not coming to their games. This is a major sports franchise in America. People were not coming to their games. They needed a new strategy. They asked us to come up with predictive models and analytics and use data to help identify new individuals that they could sell tickets to their game. So after 6 years of leading the whole entire league in declining attendance, we built a model for them. We built engagement strategies, the activation part of this. And at the end of last year, they led, after 1 year of working with us, they led the entire league in increased attendance. So it's not just applicable to the political world in America. It can be applicable to these other industries. Thank you for your time.